Justice is
F it, we're doing it live. Hi, friends. Welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host, Spaz.
Hello.
Your co-host, Julie.
Hello from the Great Smoky North, where you'll probably drop
Still?
over dead if you if you have asthma.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I didn't know it hadn't. I didn't know it hadn't gotten better. It's just hotter now, right? It's just worse now.
Yes, just hotter, and the home fires of Canada are still burning.
That's great. That's great. I feel bad for Canada, actually. Like I looked into it after we talked about it last time, and yeah, there are some fires they just cannot get to. It's tragic.
The smoke over part of Canada looks like a huge smoky tornado. It's horrifying.
Oh man. Also joining us is your co-host Thorsten.
Hello.
Your co-host Jacob.
Lonely. I miss the lonely.
So David can't join us. He is coming back from vacation. He'll be back with us next week.
And neither can the guest.
Yeah, we don't know. I hope he's okay. We were supposed to have a guest today to talk about the game that is currently streaming behind us as we talk, The Trade Prince. Which is I've been enjoying it. I'm 3 missions in, I think, and it feels very much like their older games. It feels very much like the Viceroy, especially. Yeah, the developer of this did 2 previous games under another. I don't know what happened. I was gonna ask him. He showed up. He showed up. I was gonna ask him if he showed up. He did 2. He did 2 previous games called The Viceroy and After the Empire, both of which I enjoyed very much. They're higher level, different types of strategy, economic puzzle type games that are very different and very good. I really like them both. And when he emailed me and said, "Hey, we're under a new name, doing a new game," I'm like, "Oh my God." I was very happy because I'm like, after the Empire, Jesus Christ. They kind of went like didn't hear anything. So I never knew what happened, but I was hoping to find out. And yeah, that's, so, we'll talk about the game a bit, I guess. So did any of you guys get any time with it?
I played a bit of
I
it.
got a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Like, I love what it's trying to do, and it just I would tell this to the developer if he was here. It needs a better tutorial.
Lads, we kind of don't know what the hell we're doing here. Like, we're supposed to run a guest podcast without a guest because they just didn't show up.
It needs.
I'm sorry, but a paragraph in the corner of a screen is not a tutorial, especially if you want to appeal to people who've never played your game before.
Yeah, it needs a little more than that, and I'm a little worried because this game is I'm a little worried for this because the game is supposed to launch in 2 days as we record this, and the tutorial I don't think is ready, and 2, Thorsten, thanks to I guess luck or kismet or what, the thing wouldn't run on your computer, and so that helped the developer find a crazy bug. Which
Earlier today,
as we record this, the developer showed up in the stream. And so he was there when I said, "Hey, we're doing a podcast with you in 2 hours."
Actually, I feel now a bit guilty that I might be responsible.
No, I don't think you're responsible. It's like, if you don't do this if it's me and I don't do a thing weekly like this, I could so easily forget. Even if it's on my calendar, or whatever, I could so easily forget. We've all done that. I know. I'm trying to, be polite and give the benefit of the doubt while my leg is bleeding. It's not bleeding. It just hurts a lot because, wow, my cat gave me a scratch. I just noticed it. Like, why does my leg hurt? Oh, cat. Shit. Yeah, one fun thing I was doing, folks, before we started recording is trying to get one of my cats into a carrier so she can go to the vet. And
it had the predictable response.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she did not want to, and
Didn't like it. Didn't appreciate it.
Didn't like it. Oh, the meows she made on the way to the car were just heartbreaking. But this game, it's kind of a trade. Like if y'all played Logistical, which I don't know how many of y'all play. I'm not talking to just my co-host. I'm talking to the audience. There's a puzzle. They call it a strategic puzzle game. It's a logistical puzzle called Logistical. It's an amazing series of games. Amazing. I love them. And this reminded me of that in the way you're figuring out how to get supplies to those who demand it. And this game is interesting because you have all these planets, but you have a mission. Like, so far, I've done 3 of these, and the game is broken into missions. And each mission, you have a specific goal, like get 250 units of water. The goal, and every time you have to get it through the main planet, which then goes to the Stargate or whatever, or the jump gate or whatever, and that's what counts when it goes through the jump gate. So you got if the central planet can't build water pumps, for example, you have to find a connected planet that will, and then eventually get it all working to when the required resources go to the jump gate. But you can also unlock other things as you're playing, like you have advisors you can unlock. As you oh, I never hit the record button. Whoops. No, the lucky thing is I have a backup.
Oh, good.
We're going great today. No, OBS is also recording a file as well that I can use. It won't be as good as the WAV file that I usually record, but it'll be,
Redundancy.
Yeah. So basically this game is a logistical puzzle game, and you have a mission, and when the mission is done, you can either move on to the next one or keep playing a little bit and try and unlock or upgrade your advisors by solving more logistical puzzles. I enjoyed it. It really felt a lot like the Viceroy, which I also enjoyed. And I would tell the developer that if they were here. But what did you guys think of it that when you played it? I mean, Julie, you said you didn't really grok it, which is completely understandable. What about the other? What about you and Thorsten? You couldn't play it. So Jacob or Spaz, because you guys did get some time with it. What did you guys think of it?
Confusing, but interesting. I didn't play a lot of it. I played like an hour, I think. But I enjoyed it. But yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part.
A lot to offer. I think it has a lot to offer. I don't think it is a good game to start with if you're new to this sort of logistical puzzle.
Oh no! Oh no!
Game.
No!
It expects you to have some previous experience, I would say, and if you don't have that, you're going to have a difficult time getting into it. But if you do, I mean, it's already very niche. This kind of logistical puzzle genre, regardless of how it's framed, is fairly niche as it is.
Super niche. Yeah. Very, very niche.
Yeah.
Very, very niche. Yeah. Oh, the developer isn't even online. He isn't even on Discord, I just noticed. So I wonder if he's having internet problems. That would suck. So, Spaz, we're going to do a tangent. I'm honestly surprised you got any time with this, given how much you've been enjoying Jagged Alliance 3, apparently.
Oh, only 65 hours since launch. Yeah.
Jesus
Christus. When was it launched?
Friday.
Within the last week, yeah. Like not even a full week, yeah.
Did you sleep?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you eat, sleep? No.
I don't have a Nicole to remind me to eat, but yes, I did.
No, I keep hearing how great it is, but I'm going to be honest. The older I get, the more I realize some games aren't. Oh, God damn it! I'm sorry. Just aren't for me anymore. And I have a feeling Jagged Alliance might be one of those. Like, I just don't have the patience for fiddly moving around guys on a map. And it sounds great, but I just don't think I'll play it, which is a shame because it looks great. But
It is really, really good. But yeah, I understand. It's not a game that you would have a lot of fun with.
I don't think so.
Even though 20 years ago, you would.
Yeah, exactly. I played the original Jagged Alliance, Deadly Games, and Jagged Alliance 2 20, 30 years ago. Enjoyed the hell out of them. But I was a different person 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I realize morality is creeping up on me, and therefore I'm like, I don't have the time or patience to move these guys around anymore. But I'm really glad to hear it's good, because there were a lot of attempts to like kind of relaunch Jagged Alliance. There were 5 or 6 games, and they were all terrible. There was Wildfire.
I wouldn't say they ranged from being terrible to unfinished, launching in an unfinished state. There was Jagged Alliance Flashback, for example.
Right.
And that one...
Wait, hang on a second. Jacob, are you okay?
Me? Oh, what's going on?
There's some kind of breathing going on in the mic.
Oh. I've leaned too close. My apologies.
No worries. We're having fun today, y'all. We're having a good time. This is going to be our weirdest. Yeah. This is going to be our second weirdest show ever. We're not going to
second.
Well, we talked about the first weirdest before we started. We're not going to tell you folks which one it is. We don't want to down talk anyone, but yeah, this will probably be the second weirdest show we've ever done.
All our shows are sometimes weird.
That's fair.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But like, I don't think we've had this issue happen with this new crew, where the guest just hasn't appeared.
This is the first time with this crew.
With this crew. The last crew.
This is the first.
Yeah, with the last crew, it happened once or twice. We know it happened at least once. The guest showed up almost an hour late. And that was a rough show. I don't even remember what we were talking about leading up to him finally arriving. It was a long time ago. But folks, this game is the trade prints here. It's supposed to come out in 2 days as we record this. It's slated to come out July 21st. It is July 19th today. Oh, my cat doesn't like that my other cat isn't here. She is meowing up a storm right now. Or maybe she does like it. This is how she expresses joy. Like, oh my God, I finally have the house to myself. This is amazing. Oh, man. Yeah, so I will tell you... Oh, wait. The guest just messaged me. What's going on?
Oh.
Let me switch computers.
The podcast might happen.
Wait. Okay, I'm dying to know what's going on, because, I mean, okay, friends, we might have our show after all. Just hang tight. We're having a good time. We're having fun here. Just being together is really what matters in the end. Just being here with all you guys is really the high point. One of the high points of my week. So I'm just glad we're doing this at all. We didn't do this last week because I just wasn't feeling well. But maybe we shouldn't have done it today either. I don't know. No, if he's going to show up, I mean, that's great. But okay, it says he's online now. He's going to switch computers. I'm not sure what's happening.
I see he's online in Discord at least.
Yeah, he just private messaged me saying he's going to switch computers. Okay.
So hopefully it was just a technical issue and not something worse.
Yeah, hopefully it was just I missed the calendar notification or something. Because I am pretty sure, let me double check. I am pretty sure I sent him a calendar invite. I always send a calendar invite. Hang on, let me... Pretty sure.
Every time such things happen, I have always a fear that there are some real life issues.
Yeah, that's That's where my
Hello.
brain. That's where my brain goes as well. Like there's a real life problem. Hey, there he is. And we can't hear him. Okay, well, you know, that's what happens when we do it.
Slow,
but hey,
incremental
he's here,
progress.
friends. He's here. It's progress. We're getting there. One step at a time.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, now we can.
Yes.
I am
Yes.
so sorry. You sent me an invite for 12 hours later than this.
I did? Wait, what?
I am so sorry.
No, that's
It was
my
all, like,
fault.
ramped
That's
up.
my fault. Oh shit, you guys, it's my fault.
Oh,
I
Brian.
sent an invite for 9:45 p.m. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, okay. So, are you still up for this, man, or do you want to reschedule? Like, are you still?
I'm excited.
Okay.
Do it.
Oh my god, I feel so stupid. I've never done that. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I was going to say, that is very much a first.
That is also
That
a
is a
first.
first.
That is a first. Oh my god, friends,
We're
this is-
breaking new grounds, lads.
friends, this is entirely on me. I am so sorry. This is entirely on me. Very unprofessional. I am so sorry. I'm usually better at this. What the fuck? You're absolutely right. I set it to 9:45 p.m. I set the end time right though, 11 a.m., but it put to the next day. So,
I thought it was long.
oh my god, dude, I am. You don't know how sorry I am. You don't know how. So, everyone, Christian Purser of Blazing
Hello.
Nebula Games to talk about the trade prints. Hey,
How's it going?
well, you can see how it's going.
The joys of doing it live.
You can see how it's going. Oh my god, sir,
Part of the magic.
yeah. The magic, the fucking razzle dazzle.
That's right. The showmanship.
Sir, I am so sorry. I cannot apologize enough. I feel so terrible.
No problem.
For-
Water under the bridge. I'm just
Thank
happy
you.
to be here.
We're happy to have you too because we were talking about your game. So we did talk about your game before you got here, but let's talk about it now. So it's basically, how would you describe it? Because I described it as a logistical puzzle game. How would you describe it? It's your
Yes,
game. Huh?
I think that's exactly what it is. It's a logistical, and that's, I think, the first word in my Steam description. I said the trade prints is a logistical. I think I said strategy game, but puzzle game's the same to me. Yeah, absolutely. It's like a supply chain building creation game. Absolutely, logistical puzzle game.
It really reminded me of, the Viceroy. It reminded me a lot of the Viceroy, which I do want to talk about. But I don't know if you've ever heard of a series of games called Logistical, which is also a strategic, like logistical puzzle game where you have either a state or the whole globe and you're moving things from one city to another to unlock the city and get more cities. And yeah, it's amazing. It's absolutely friggin' wonderful. I love them to death. And your game reminded me of that in a very good way.
Great. Well, I'll look that up.
Yeah, no, they're terrific. If you're going to get one, get either Logistical Earth or Logistical 3. Those are the most recent ones.
Okay, will do.
Actually, Logistical Earth actually has a tutorial, so that's probably the one you want to get. Oh my god.
That's always a plus.
Can you guys hear that?
I'm hearing meowing. Yes, we can hear meowing.
So that is my Matilda. So it's kind of a weird day here, Christian. My other cat we just took to the vet, and so I think I'm not sure what's going on. Hang on a second. What are you doing? Oh, okay.
When I was a kid, I had a pair of Siamese cats.
Oh,
And if one of them even left the room, the other one would just be like very displeased.
so
Sure.
Hi, she's coming here now. Hello. Yeah, she probably has no idea what to do with herself now that she has the whole place to herself.
Yeah.
Too much freedom for one cat.
I'm so used to the other one bothering me. Where is she? So I have to ask. So after the Viceroy and after the Empire, which is very difficult to say, by the way, after the Empire,
After the Empire.
I have to really focus my brain to say it properly. Both of which I really enjoyed. You kind of disappeared after the Empire. Can I ask what happened?
Absolutely. I'll tell you all about it. So I got into programming. That's what I do for a living because I wanted to do games. The first thing I ever programmed was a game. That was when I was in junior high. I programmed a MUD in BASIC. I don't know if you guys...
Oh, I played lots of MUDs.
Wow. In BASIC, no less.
In BASIC.
Damn.
Terrible choice.
Christ almighty.
Yeah, it was real bad. And I distributed it in my junior high on floppy disks. It was very unpopular. But anyway, I did it.
Sorry, that hits me hard. That hits me hard. If I was in junior high school, I was very unpopular in junior high school. So if I was distributing floppy disks to kids, it'd be like, "What the fuck is this? Punch."
Brian Rubin selling illegal floppy disks on the street.
Well, and also the kids that went to my high school were not computer savvy or smart enough to know what it was, so they'd be just like, "What are you trying to give me, Ruben?" Punch.
Can I eat it?
So that hits hard. That hits hard. Okay. Anyway,
being extremely uncharitable, but yeah, fair enough.
Oh man. Okay. So anyway,
can I eat it? I mean, can I
doing
eat it? Would be pretty okay.
so your first game was on floppies, for crying out loud.
Yeah. After that, I made incremental games in Java during college. But I had a friend, and this was during high school and the beginning of college, but I had a friend whose father was a programmer, and they were just very poor. Their family was poor, from my perspective, right? So I thought, programmers don't make any money, so I'll go to something else. So I went into philosophy in college, for the money, of course.
You went... I'm sorry. You went where for money?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It didn't make any sense. I said, I like programming, but that clearly you don't make a lot of money doing that. So I'm going to go. And then I didn't think, what's the new thing for money? I just thought, what's fun? And I went to philosophy.
Philosophy was your backup major?
It was a terrible game. Didn't do me any good.
I'm glad we agree it wasn't a good idea because that...
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, phenomenal.
After that, I just fell back into programming again because I could get a job doing it. And
it can't be worse than philosophy.
No. Programming's been great to me, honestly. Can't complain about it. As soon as I felt like I had the ability to do it, I raised some... I mean, raising money seems grandiose for what it was, but I got backers, people to back me in return for, the profit, not all the profit, but a share of the profit. And they backed me for those first two games, and they honestly probably would have backed me for a third, but I was just going, I'm making less money doing this because it was taking me so long to do them than I would just working for a programming company. And it's just so much more work. It just stressed me out so bad. So after that, I was just done, and I just left and couldn't look back. And it's funny because in hindsight, and I tell people this, I'd be like, oh, it was just rough. All the feedback, all the people were like, oh, were they mean? I was like, no, they were nicer than I deserved, honestly.
Oh man.
They were nice. I never had a mean person. You know what I mean? It was just, people that wanted to play the game and it didn't work. If that's the worst that I ever got.
Wow.
But it that was enough to burn me out of it. And the fact that I was making less money than I was hoping to. And I just went back to programming, and I thought I'd never come back.
Well, we're glad you did. I have to say, I was sad to see that after what happened, that there were no further games from, what was the name of your last studio? I'm blanking.
GoT Games.
Yeah, GoT Games. Because I really liked the Viceroy and After the Empire. They were very, very different and very, very unique. Maybe to the detriment of sales. I don't know. I'm sorry.
To some degree, I'm sure.
But I really liked them both. I played both of them for several hours each, and I thought they were great. And so when you sent me an email saying, "Hey, I'm back," I'm like, "Oh my god." Because no lie,
the return of the king.
No lie, we were talking about the Viceroy on our Discord like a couple of weeks before you emailed me.
Oh, that's funny.
Because we ran into, I think, another high-level strategy game, and I was like, this reminds me of this. I could never remember the name. This reminds me of this game from like 6 years ago that was like this high-level economic game. What the hell was that thing called? took like 8 years to figure. Like, oh yeah, the Viceroy. That's what it was. It's hard to remember for some reason. But what brings you back after getting burned out? What brings you back?
Well, I would reflect on it and just be like, what burned me out? That's the thing, is like looking back at it, I can't see what stressed me out so much. I don't think it was even the games. I think it was just the existence of being a much more inexperienced programmer and person when I did it. You know what I mean? As well as just the stress of it needed to work, right? Because I had backers, but wasn't paying my bills. You know what I mean? As much as like your 9 to 5 senior software engineering position, right? So I had a lot of pressure that I put on myself. And the truth is the games did real well. Like if you look at the averages, my games, beat the averages. I don't have any complaints about that. I'm shocked at how many sales I made.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean they sold, a lot. I mean, but just not as much as if you were like distribute that over the 2 years I was taking to make them, as much as I would make as a software engineer. So what brought me back is over the years, I've always been a fast programmer. I've just gotten faster and faster. And so it's gotten to the point where I finish my work week. I do my 40 hours. I do my work for my regular old programming company. And then it comes to after work in the weekend and I go, I've got more programming to do. I've got more fancy typing energy, right? So I was sort of like, well, what am I going to do? And I'll just start making a game for fun. And I started making this game about maybe 10 months ago, 9 months ago now.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Holy crap. This looks like a much more mature than 9 or 10 months.
I'm just very fast and I've gotten faster. And wow. It's funny because I really was quite quick even with the first ones, but I'm a self-taught programmer, right? So like the Viceroy isn't even object-oriented, right? It's completely procedural and functional. And then after the Empire is barely object-oriented. So this one's just, I mean, actually for my work, I mostly teach programming at a very large company. So I was just able to do it quickly. And I like doing stuff like this. It's sort of like my artistic outlet. And so I just got back into it. I got pulled right back in like I always did, basically. And I'm glad that I'm here because I tell you what, it's way better to be doing it on the weekends and not having to stress. If this game sells 25 copies, I mean, that'll be amazing. I hope those people have a great time.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Those seem to be the happiest developers we've run into, where it's not their primary job, and so if it's successful, great. But if it's not, okay, they're not hedging all their bets on it, which is safe, and that's completely a very smart way to go. But I've noticed over the years that those are the programmers that are just like, if it does well, great. Well,
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and
that's what I feel so far.
Yeah, and I mean that's great that this is your outlet, because then we get to play more of your games.
Yeah.
So that's great for us. Now we did have at least one critique. We feel the tutorial could be a bit more fleshed out.
Okay.
It's
want a longer tutorial?
Just maybe I don't even know if longer is the best. What do you guys think? Because you guys you guys butted heads with it more than I did.
I am the newbiest player in this style of game, and I really wanted to enjoy your game, and I can appreciate how much work went into it. It looks wonderful, and this bothers me the most because I want to enjoy this game. But when you're coming at it from my standpoint, getting into this game from other types of game, it's like a paragraph in the corner of the page broken into 13 parts. And I look at this and I feel like I was back in grad school in advanced statistics. And it's like that scene in the Vin Diesel movie where he says, pretend you're educating somebody. I think you're talking to someone who's educated in the juvenile system. In fact, don't pretend. So it's kind of like a barrier to people like me who assume I don't know anything about these kind of games, because you'd probably be right.
Okay. All right. I'll do that. I'll rewrite it. That's a good critique. Will do.
Yeah, we want your game to work. That's why we're giving you these. Did you ever figure out the bug that Thorsten was having, by the way?
Totally did. Actually, the reason why I logged back into the Discord was to tell him that I was pushing a patch to fix it.
Oh, yay. We always love when a dev shows up in our streams to do live bug fixing. We really always love that.
We've had that happen before, and it's never not funny.
It's never not great. Yeah, it's always been fantastic. So every time that happens, we're just kind of giddy. You're like, oh, look, a developer's here. Yeah, because we love developers.
Okay.
We love you guys. Seriously.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, we do
Well,
because.
to me,
Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, to me, it's especially refreshing because when you think about, and I know some people in the industry, and it's like, I know one person in the industry, and when I can call him up and say, hey, this is broken. He said, okay, I'll take care of it right away. But a lot of other people say, yeah, well, I'll get around to it one of these days, and it's like, wow, it fixed right away. What a refreshing, how refreshing is that?
Well, I appreciate your feedback so that I know to fix it. It's funny. I think it's hard. I think it's hard to be a game dev as a job. Being a game dev as a hobby is awesome. It's awesome.
That's a great way to look at it because I've heard all these stories about developers at AAA studios just burning out and stressing out all the time because of all the crunch and everything, and
it's terrible.
Yeah, but when you're doing it just for fun, that's probably the best way to do it. And you can tell that when you made a lot of these games, when they're good, especially, you can tell that it was made for fun more than to make a buck. And so many of these indie games we play, you can tell were made for fun. Because one thing we've always heard from developers over and over again is, I'm making the game I want to play.
Yeah.
And no one made the game I want to play. I am making the game I want to play. And
that's what I've. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you were saying something.
I've always. I actually have a funny story about that because over and over again I go, I want to make a game. I want to make a game that does well. And then it takes about 2 weeks for me to be just making exactly what I want and completely forgetting what I should be doing, quote unquote. And they all just become like passion projects in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Against my
that's
intentions.
That's how it should be, though. These things are fun.
I guess.
These things are supposed to be fun. I mean, and it's great when they're fun for you to make. That's even better. Like, we've run into a few devs where you can tell the stress of game development is wearing on them a bit. We can totally tell. Thankfully it doesn't happen that often. But
I mean, it does at those big studios. It's so rough. I worked at a very large slot machine company, which is an interesting kind of video game development thing.
I was gonna say that sounds very unique.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really standard. It's weird to say it's a really standard game development environment. You wouldn't think it is, but slot machine companies, the way they work is it's sort of like working for a Flash game studio or something. You're like, how often do you put out a game? They're like, every month.
Jesus.
Well, you're reskinning their math, and it's you and a team. It's a math person, like a statistician, 2 artists, and a sound person. And they have a framework, and so you're just plugging stuff in. And all modern slot machine games have a mini game in them, which is like a little Flash game that you're making, right? But it's not skill based, or it has to be varyingly skill based. Anyway, but it was funny how quickly working there. I worked there for maybe I think I worked for one game, so 4 weeks or whatever that is, plus training, right? And how quickly it just drained the enjoyment out of it, just with the stress and we got to have it by this and by that, and then you have to get through approval, and it's a whole different world.
I believe it. I actually did game testing for a online poker company like 20 years ago, and I was like, okay, it's video games. It's probably going to be fun, right? No. Mm-hmm. Complete opposite of whatever fun is. No, it was horrible. I couldn't wait to leave. I actually quit. I never quit jobs. That was like the one job I actually quit because it was terrible. So yeah, I totally get it. But yeah, it's got to be great. Like, just being able to do this for a good time.
Loving it.
So where'd the concept of this one? Because it does seem similar to the Viceroy. Yet I have to say I love that it's mission based, because that makes it very easy. I'm a big fan of things being broken into missions, and so for me having this be like, because I've seen other logistical puzzle games, and eventually it's like, okay, this is getting a little too big. I need to stop. But with this broken into missions, it's like, oh, it's kind of bite sized. I have a quick, a very specific focus. So where did that idea come from? Because I have to say, I love the idea of having it be mission based.
Well, I originally it wasn't. When I made it first, I guess that makes sense. You make the core of the thing first, right? It was just. Yeah, exactly. It was just a big sprawling thing, and there were far more tiers than there currently are. Like in an attempt, because you can go to like tier 10 goods in this, and there were like tier 13, 14 goods, and the goods required more inputs. Because it was just me trying to be like, this just has to go forever, right? You just have to be able to sit down in the map and play it for 50 hours, right? And then I was like, oh, I want to add skills. So there was like a progression character, and then I also wanted to add, and that's is what caused me to add the characters with the different powers. And then I'm like, well, how do I add skills? And then I'm like, oh, well, let's just have a mission that just you deliver this, and then you get a point. And then my wife was playtesting it, and she's like, you know what? It should start with not tier 13 good or whatever it was at the time. And I'm like, oh, I'll just start with the tier 1 so that people can learn how to do it, and then tier 2 and then tier 3 and so on, and just like chain it together like that to make it easier to get into and more bite-sized. And I think it's a lot more fun because, just like you say, whenever I come back to some game, Civilization, Europa Universalis, Stellaris, whatever, and I'm like 13 hours into a game, but I haven't played for 2 weeks, I'm just like, well, I guess I'm restarting this. You know, I don't know what's going on anymore.
I have no memory of this place.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
well, I thought I could fix that, because even if you restart it, you've only lost a few minutes, and you probably stop playing right after beating a stage. So I hope that would fix that.
So how many missions are there in the game?
There are 9. Oh, so there's 2 different ways to look at it. It goes from mission 1 through 10, and then so there's 1 through 10 goods. So you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. And then after that, it restarts, but you get a +1 permanent skill point, so it's like faster the next time. There's 100 story missions, like the story lasts for 100 missions. And you can do 910 missions to max out your character.
Oh,
Depending
wow.
on your answer. Those are the 3 ways: 10, 100, or 910.
Oh, that's okay. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I forgot about this part, but I also like that you are a character basically in the game, and you have skills. Like, there aren't a lot of strategy games where you're an actual character in the game. Like, there's Total War, Warhammer, and Emperor of the Fading Suns,
Crusader King.
Maybe Crusader Kings. Oh, Old World, of course. But there aren't maybe Heroes of Might and Magic, I guess. But for the majority of strategy games, you're not a character at all. You're just like this nebulous
presence,
godlike entity thing. Yeah.
The spirit of the nation, as you apparently are in Civ or Europa.
Yeah.
Which always makes it very weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. I like... So speaking of Civilization and games like that, first off, do I buy every Civilization and play it for a ton of hours? Of course I do. It's amazing. But
we appreciate the honesty.
The granularity of it bothers me. Like that, like you're supposed to be like you have 3 cities, but you're like the dominant. It's like a conceit of the game. And as part of that, that's why in the Viceroy, you're like a person. You're the Viceroy. You're doing something, right? And in the Trade Prince, it's the same. It's the same concept. It's you're a person in the setting. You're not an amorphous thing. You have a real position in it. And then I like being able to put pictures and stuff in, because that was it was like one of the first feedbacks I got from the Viceroy was people being like, it'd be really cool if you had like a picture of your character so you could know who you were. You could like maybe choose. So I was excited to put that in. So I guess it's feedback from the Viceroy as well.
Where did you get the artwork, by the way? We were wondering if it's AI driven or not. It kind of has that kind of AI look to it, but we weren't sure.
Yeah, let me tell you the story. Let me tell you my AI story. So after I did AI art.
Here we go.
It's time.
After I stopped after the Empire, I told myself, you know what the future of video games is? The future of video games is, because if I can program these things by myself, my problem is I can't do the art, right? And so I started going. I live in a city called Provo, Utah, and it's weirdly like one of the centers of like atelier style like art drawing. Like you really like there are places you can go and there are people who hit you with a stick and tell you how to draw, that sort of thing, which is hard to find in a lot of places. It's like here, Chicago, and it's because of a particular man named Bridgman that's from here or came here. Anyway, so I went through that. I went and spent 2 years every day practicing, going to things, going to life drawing classes, going to quick pose classes, practicing drawing, and so that I would make the art for my next games. Because I'm like, I'll just do it because it would be so much faster for me to just be able to do it, money aside, to be able to make exactly the art that I wanted than having to correspond with people. And I never thought I was, the games are never going to be successful enough to, I'm not going to have a studio people or whatever, you know what I mean? It's always going to be freelance. And I respect those people and they really got me to where I am. And but I was like, I'll join them. Right. And then right as I sort of got to the end of that process and I started making games again, the AI art thing came out. And that was just such a dark couple of weeks for me, I tell you.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I can believe it. Oh, man. We're not fans. Well, I'm going to say myself, I am not a fan of this whole AI thing. I'm not a fan at all. I'm heartily against it. I mean, have these people seen Terminator? Come on. Jesus.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had a couple, just seriously despairing weeks. I'm like, great. Well, that was 2 years of my, admittedly I was working or whatever, years of my free time wasted on practicing this thing when I could have been going to a theme park, right? When I could have been playing more Civilization. But you know what? It's interesting doing all that art study because you go from seeing things as understanding how to see things as a line to seeing things as a shade to eventually you're just doing painting and digital painting, which is what I do, where you're seeing playing color that reflects light sources, right?
Wait, can you repeat that, please?
See the world in a different way.
Can you repeat that last bit, please? You cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry about that. And then in the third stage is sort of seeing. If you think about an object, like you can look at anything, look at a can, look at whatever's on your desk, look at your monitor. You're not seeing the shape, like your eyes don't see the shape. This is such a weird thing to say. What you're seeing is light reflected on various surfaces in various ways, right? Some are shiny, some are matte, some are colors, some are being hit by different light sources and they're reflecting the light, but that's all you're seeing. And eventually art is that. It's just laying down these shapes and in the fashion and the light being reflected from them with the colors. So even though I didn't per se do the art for this game, I actually did a lot of it, did all the icons and stuff like that. My knowledge of it, the time and effort that I spent in learning art was why I could make this game look as nice as it does. Because AI art is nothing. It's a pile of randomized trash, right?
It's a thingy approximation engine. It approximates things.
Yeah. If you can't sift through it and color match it and pick out a theme, then it's worthless. It's nothing. So I guess it let me use the AR better. That's nice, and I'll just paint in my spare time.
So the art the art is yours, is what you're saying.
I mean, what I'll say is I had the ability to choose it. It's weird. I think it's more the role of like an art director than an artist. You know what I mean? But I couldn't have made the game look as nice, anywhere near as nice, if I hadn't done all that art. Or at least that's what I tell myself, so I don't feel bad about it.
I mean, I agree with the notion. The one thing I noticed is that despite it being AI art, it looks as consistent as you can make AI art look, which is to say, but it does look consistent. Which is the big thing that a lot of AI struggles with, is because it's a thingy approximation machine, it just approximates thingies without making them consistent.
Yes.
Or merge well together. Or you get the idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you just got to sift through it, and you got to have an eye for it, and you got to be flexible. And it was a weird journey. It was a weird journey to do it. Without it, this game would look very similar to After the Empire.
which again is not a bad looking game, but it does have a very simplistic art style. That one.
It does.
Very, very, and it's not a detriment to the game though. The game is still great. I love that game.
Thanks.
But yeah, the art style is very. I mean, when you think, because am I remembering correctly? And After the Empire, you're playing a computer, basically.
Yes. Yes.
So it kind of the art style makes sense because you're playing a computer. You don't really need art if you're a computer, which is kind of funny. Consider what we were just talking about. But so yeah, no, the art style made sense for that thing because you're not human. You don't need pretty icons and stuff.
The reviews I got though and I did that on purpose. It's really funny because I had an art budget and I was like, no, I'm going to do a super. I often when I'm making a game start trying to distill it like too much, like trying to like what's the thing in of itself that I'm going for, and can I just like perfectly encompass that?
The platonic ideal of your game.
Yeah, the platonic, yes, sir. The platonic ideal, that's the word. And I, in After the Empire, did that, and I was like, it should be super minimalist. I'm going to make it super minimalist. I'm not going to put any art in it. And the number one feedback I got from people as to like the problem with it was that it looked so minimalistic that it didn't look like a game. Do you know what I mean? It was like too.
It looked like an
minimalist.
Excel sheet.
Yes.
Yeah, I know
And
exactly.
I enjoy
what you
good
mean.
Excel sheet. I played Eve for years. But
My condolences. Our condolences, I guess.
Been there. We've all been there.
but
We all make mistakes.
But speaking of mistakes, I think although I at the time would have stood by the like creative decision, quote unquote, or lack of creative decision of After the Empire, I think it was a mistake.
That's fair.
In retrospect.
That's fair. I mean, people I think these days have a need for a basic type of art, I guess, in their games.
Yes.
Like it can be minimalistic, but it has to have a certain level of artistry to it.
Be art. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But your training in art is never wasted, if for no other reason. And I faced this same problem in writing a book, which I'm getting ready to publish now. But in looking into it, I found out AI art can't be copyrighted.
That's true.
It can be trained by other people's copyrighted art. So I said to myself, what am I going to do? And I said, make friends with someone who's a commercial artist. So the way I used it was simply say, okay, here's what I want. Here's a template. Make it for me. So I can thoroughly identify with the problem that you had.
Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting. Can't be copyrighted. Lots of things with games can't be copyrighted. Game mechanics can't be copyrighted. In many ways, code approaches can't be copyrighted if people decompile my code and just reverse engineer it.
Yeah, that's true.
The composition can be copyrighted as a whole, but it's weird. So I always got over it. Like I remember, this is a funny story. I was really stressed out about game piracy when I started making games, and almost immediately after I put up the Viceroy, I was like within an hour or two, someone pirated it because its protection was very weak and it just just immediately was up. But in their description of it, they gave it a really nice review. So I was like, that's fun.
Okay.
Hey, they liked it.
hey, I pirated this great game, you guys. Try it out.
Yeah, it was just like that.
Like it's the old 8-bit days.
Oh, that's great. That is really wow. What a journey you've been on with this whole thing, huh? My goodness.
Yeah.
So this game only took 10 months to make because we talk
That's it.
because I mean most developers it's like 1 to 3 years, or 5 years or whatever. But you apparently got so is this in Java as well, or is this a different game engine?
It's in Java and libgdx, the same as After the Empire. The Viceroy is in Python and Pygame, which is a much rougher engine to be doing stuff in, to be honest. Just especially at the time because it stopped being supported. I don't know. I don't know what its status is right now. And Python's much slower than Java. And yeah, it took me about 10 months to do it. I'm just radically faster than I used to be. And I was in the boat of all those guys that had taken 2-3 years, whatever, to make games before this. And I think it'll kill you. I think the problem is when you get past a year and a half, you just start forgetting why you started it to begin with. You start second guessing all your decisions.
Shit. Were you happy with those two games, by the way, Viceroy and After the Empire? Were you happy with them?
Happy with them.
Oh, good.
I was very happy with them. I thought they were great games.
They are great games.
I'm really proud to have made them, and I'm really happy that people enjoyed them.
No, that's good. They are great games, folks. If you haven't bought them yet, do so. They're very unique. I think the only other person that's making strategy games like you is Arson. How do you say their name? Arson. The folks who made AI War. And yeah, they're like the only other people in the quote unquote space. Haha, I know, that are making strategy games that are as niche-y and different and yet still awesome as you guys. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the great things I particularly love about indie games, like the ones you make, is how it allows people to be creative and different. Like, because people can play Call of Duty all day if they want to, or Madden or whatever the latest AAA thing is. But like the indie space is an amazing place. It's so amazing.
You can experience and do some wild things in it. That they just you'd never do that in a AAA game because they would say we're gonna make money instead of that.
Exactly, and you never would have been able to do this before digital distribution either. Like
yes.
If you had to get your game on the store at EB or Target, forget about it.
That's not happening. Yeah.
EB.
Electronics Boutique. Oh God, yes. Electronics Boutique used to be a game store for many years until they were bought up by GameStop, which I'm sure you've heard of. But that was the big one for a while, was Electronics Boutique, or EB. That's where, when I was a kid, that's where I would go to shop for games. Like that's where I bought F-19, for example. Like lots and lots of games over the years, and I worked for them too many times. And I didn't work for Babbage's though. But I'll tell you, man, there was a mall near me that had both an EB and a Babbage's.
Oh yeah,
fucking luxury! Oh my God, holy shit! I could go from one to the other.
We had a Babbage's and a KB Toys, which carried a lot of not computer games but video games.
Yeah, you know what's weird? The mall that I just mentioned did not have a toy store. Like the smaller mall nearby did have a KB, but that was like their only thing. They didn't have a video game store. It was weird. So
now the malls don't have anything.
No, yeah. Okay. In a way, I miss malls, and in a way, I don't. It's just a slight tangent, because
I miss them as an activity.
Yeah.
I used to go when I was a kid and play Warhammer. So there was the game shop here was in the mall.
Yeah,
so I remember going
us too. Yeah.
Warhammer quests and stuff like that, and going and getting a pretzel at the food court. It was a great time.
Yeah, there was one at our mall too, and so I never played the games there because I'm not really into the tabletop thing. I need it to be electronics, or I will not play. But yeah, they had a game there. They had a game store there too. And I remember walking in several times and reading through like the heavy gear books and watching people play Warhammer.
Nice.
So I hate to do this, man, but we do have a hard stop in 3 minutes. So I'm so sorry you're late. I'm so sorry you were late because of me. I feel terrible. Maybe we should have you back on to make up for this. I think we'll work on that.
I'll be back anytime.
Yeah, you've been really a lot of fun. I'm so sad we missed 20 minutes with you, but we do have a hard stop. We gotta cut
That's
it.
Good.
So folks, the game is The Trade Empire. It comes out in
Prince.
Trade Prince. What am I doing? The Trade Prince. Thank you. I had After the Empire in my head. The game is called The Trade Prince. It comes out in 2 days from when we record this. So Friday, July 21st. So 2 days. What is the price point going to be, by the way?
$9.99. 10% off to start.
That's a perfect price for this. That's going to make it very easy for people to jump on this. That is a great price for this. Well done. Thank you, dude. Thank you so much for. I am so sorry. I'm sorry to you, and I'm sorry to the audience for. I've been making calendar invites for years, and that was the first time, and hopefully the last, that I put 9:45 p.m. instead of a.m. I am so sorry. I feel terrible.
Totally all right.
But
I appreciate you having me.
Oh, and we appreciate you being here. So, folks, go buy the game once it comes out in 2 days, called The Trade Prince. It's right there on the stream. It's really great. It really is, especially if you like slightly different logistical strategy / puzzle games. But this, like, I don't usually do well with logistical games, like ones that are bigger than this. But this one I clicked with, probably because it's mission based. Yeah, do check it out. Next week, we're working on a guest. They haven't confirmed, so I don't know what's happening next week. Hopefully, we'll have a guest, but if not, we'll have a topic. So we'll see you next time, folks. Have a good one.